Hi everyone, I'm your host Tania, and welcome to the Safe Table Podcast, episode 9, where I have invited Neha Mehta. Neha started her career as a QA technician, and now she's a compliance specialist in Aspire Bakeries in Ontario. Neha is someone who believes in resilience and also in leadership. So let's dive into chat with Neha. Hi Neha, welcome to the Safe Table Podcast. How are you today?
Not too bad, Tania. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for accepting my request to be on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Moment. I wanted to be on this much more than you wanted me to come on this. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
This is my favorite question. What is Neha Mehta's story? What is your story,
Ooh.
your journey? What is your experience? How did you move from India to Canada, and where did your journey started in India, and then now you're working as a compliance person in Aspire Bakeries. So tell us about that.
The story starts very basic. It starts as a girl who just knew that she wants to study abroad, a step out of her comfort zone. And little did I know, I just quite honestly packed my bag. All I knew is I'm heading into a biotechnology advanced course. It's in Centennial College, it's Canada. Such a big eye opener. Oh my God, it's Canada. But then I was excited for the snow. I was excited of living abroad, always seen it in the movies. That's just the dream I walked in with. But then when the reality hits you, it hits you like a brick wall. You're sustaining on your own. You knock some sense about financial stability. And that is a little harsh truth. But all of these little decisions ended up into such a beautiful story, and I'm so happy and grateful for the life that I am able to live. Um, it was just a naive decision, that's it, Tanya. And that became a story of grit and resilience, loving what I do, finding out and exploring food safety. I never thought that this is going to be the profession I live, but I'm so happy that I found, because the responsibility we live day in and day out, that boggles my mind. So that's pretty much the story.
So, is this something you always wanted to do? I have seen your beautiful paintings, so I know there's artist in you. Is this something you always wanted to do?
No, I thought I'd be a performer, Tanya. I was so much into performing arts. I love singing, I love dancing. Art is something I've picked up in Canada. That's, I think, out of boredom. When you are in winters, you don't have anywhere to go. I went to Michael's one day. I saw a painting on Instagram. I started tweaking here and there, and that's how I just stumbled on it. But no, I thought I'd have a different profession. I'd probably be a singer, if anything. Definitely not a food safety specialist.
What is your current job position? Where are you working? How does your day to day look like?
Events coordinator role at Aspire Bakeries. It's my first gig at bakery. I've always been into the poultry end of the world or meat manufacturing. My day to day, honestly, is with a lot of SOPs, with a lot of standards in my hand, walking around the floor, trying to see where we are compliant, where we are not. It's basically a role of an internal auditor. I am dinging my company for the gaps before somebody else does it for us. So that's essentially a day in a life. Other than that, obviously there are projects, there's culture events, there is building the food safety culture within the people that are working with you, who are who you're surrounded by. So yeah, that's my role now.
So you mentioned that you worked in poultry first and now you're in bakery. Do you like bakery more now? Because I have worked in meat and poultry and slaughterhouse, then I worked in bakery too. So I don't want to answer. So I want you to tell me which one do you like better?
I'm a fan of bakery. And maybe I'm fortunate enough to have a company that is so well accountable for their own actions and the teams are so driven. But for me, I think even on a personal preference, I'm glad that poultry taught me so much in terms of risk and just the sheer you cannot anticipate where this is headed next, the volume of the production, the risks that are evolving every day. But with bakery, I think I found the stability that I wanted to, and it's giving me the time to learn at my pace. Whereas I was constantly rushed in poultry, I was just stumbling from one thing to another. Whereas bakery is allowing me to sit, marinate, understand, and then move on. So I think I appreciate that piece.
That's true. And I feel like regulations are also a little bit easier. You can say it's easier to handle in bakery rather than in meat or
Mm,
poultry, anything.
exactly.
Inspectors are always there. You're always doing something. You can't have a day. a break and sit on your desk. That's true.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, poultry's always been super fast paced. It's hard to catch your breath. And you come home also with that lingering with you. You're so exhausted from knowing that there are so many to-dos and so much less time. But bakery is giving me the time I need to do both. So I love it.
And the smell of food, right?
Mm.
The
That donuts all the time.
aroma. Okay. How did you land your first job? What was, because you did your diploma in Centennial College. I did same diploma.
Mhm.
It took me 3 months after that diploma to get my work permit and get into my first job. I started as QA technician in ready-to-eat poultry plant. So how did you land your first job? Because a lot of students, we know, we have seen people reach out to us on LinkedIn, and you speak with so many different like students and graduates, right? So how did you reach out, like got your first job, and what do you suggest to other people that can help them to get their first job?
Club it into three basic skills: curiosity, grit, and absolute respect for food safety. And I am saying that absolute respect for food safety has come into the picture much later, once I'm evolved as a professional in this field. The first job, again, I think I was on the same track, 3 months for getting my work permit, and then the other 3 months sitting and waiting, applying 1,000 jobs. Oh my God, calling my parents every now and then and telling them I don't think I'm gonna crack anything, because it's also very discouraging. And that is one thing I'm so mindful of, even when new graduates reach out to me, and I feel their pain and I feel the position they're in, that I'm looking for a job. And I'm so happy that they're a step ahead. I don't think I, in my time, reached out to people and connected this way. So that was one thing I learned little later, but quite in time to make it work in my favor. Uh, Sierra was, it was just a golden throne of opportunity that just came my way all of a sudden. And I will say that I was really lucky. um, I had a friend who said that there is a technician opening at Sierra Custom Foods, and I used to live in North York. The position was in Brampton. I did not have a car. I know definitely that I would not be able to travel in the winter by a bus. I showed up with an Uber that day with the little money I had back then. Showed up for an Uber, and the interview was as simple as when can you start? And that is how lucky I got that I was able to roll into a position the next day. And also keeping in mind that they were in dire need of a technician too, and they were growing. So there were many factors that favored me, but I was in the right place at the right time. Now, have I ever touched meat in my life? No. Have I ever grown up in a home that ever has seen meat? No. But were my hands inside ground beef looking for bones? Yes. Did I throw up? By all means. Went into the washroom, gagged a little bit. It was hard, and I know so many of my colleagues and friends have given up at that point, at the very thought of the orientation being in a meat industry. But that grit and resilience kept me going, and I thought people are never going to stop eating meat. It's up to me how I want to keep my faith, and how I want to keep my thinking about the poultry industry. But people are going to do this at the end of the day, and I need food on my table. So if that means going against your principles sometimes to make it work, you will have to do that, and that's when resilience plays a role. Many students think that they are graduated and now I'm just going to land a beautiful job. I lived in that bubble myself, but that is definitely not true. Go out there. I have walked into places with my resume in the hand, asking them, even if you're not hiring, it's worth a shot. I know it's going to be tossed into a garbage bin under their desk. But I've always made sure to try, so that when I sleep at the end of the day, I am well rested, that I've done my 100% for the opportunity I wanted to make for myself. So for all the kids who are out there, I think get those technical skills, even if it's a small company, even if it is a role that doesn't align with your big picture now, just step your foot in that gate. And once you're in, you'll connect, you'll make your way, people will understand what kind of ethic or background you have. And as long as there is coachability on the table, you are able to survive, thrive, and sustain.
I think you said something very beautiful that you have to give your best, and at the end, when you're sleeping at night, you should be peaceful with your mind that, okay, I gave my best. Now, rest is up to the people
True.
who make decisions, right? You
Yeah.
don't have everything in your hands. I have a similar story. When I started my first job, I had same issue. I didn't have car. I was living in Scarborough. My first job was interview was in Oakville. So, and the shift used to start at 4:30. I took Uber for interview, but for the day to day, I couldn't afford that, right? I used to work in Popeyes as a front cashier, and they offered me a full-time job as a manager that we will help you in PR, we'll do everything, don't leave. And I was at a point because a lot of people told me, like you said, that you might not get a job in this industry. Like so many people told me, like there were friends who were there in Canada before me, probably from 4 or 5 years. They said, see, we know never got a job. Probably you won't get a job either. So I almost gave up myself that okay, I'm not gonna get a job. Probably this is the way to get PR, and then we'll see what happens. But I don't know. Then someone said to me, I can't take a name. Someone said to me that okay, this is not why you came here. This is not why you moved here. So stop thinking about it that I won't get it. You have to try. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And then I started trying. I took a bus, took a train, then reached to that job, and then come home in same way unless once I got my car or moved to closer to Oakville. So you're
Nice enough to drop you off one day.
and then carpool, that's the another option. There are a lot of people who help you if you paid them for the gas. People are more than okay. But then another thing you mentioned, I want to really talk about it. A lot of people who are vegetarians, and this is the question a lot of students ask me as well. I'm a vegetarian. I can't work in meat industry, poultry. I can't touch that. Can I get job in a vegan in company? Are there any special tactics for that? I always say no, that's not possible. You do whatever you get. People are not even here getting opportunities, and if you get something, do it. It's a night shift, do it. It's a day shift, mid shift, sanitation technician, QA technician. And as you said, Neha, once you enter into it, if you can actually, like, you're coachable, you get trained, you learn stuff, you connect with people, you do the things in the way, in a right way, of course, in the company's way, in a right way, then you always can grow. And I loved what you said. It's something touched my heart, and that's why I just wanted to say, add it onto it too. So did you, or now, even today now, do you have any networking tactics that you use, or is it always been like just like giving out your resume? Is that the only thing? Or have you been to any networking events or any, how colleges do networking events too? Something like that?
That works against my nature. I think I'm very introvert by nature, and I'm gonna say it out loud and be vulnerable because there are many out there who have their own reservations, but they still want to make it out in the world, right? So, despite of being so reserved and such an introvert, I think I've learned now that I'm only open in my space. So, if I land a job, I'm very social and I'm very approachable with the people I have to work with. But yes, the hardest part is getting yourself in a position where you will have a job to socialize with people. I have not, Tanya, unfortunately, networked in a way that traditionally people do. LinkedIn was my source, but since social media is getting so strong these days, I think having an opinion, even on your own page, goes a long way. You never know if you're hitting the right chord when you post a certain way with your own thoughts. It just hits the bat sometimes. Um, I am totally going to be a hypocrite and say that don't do it. Go ahead and socialize, go participate in events. If you have an idea that you want to gather people together of the same mindset and learn from them, go ahead and do that because it's going to pave your way not only for networking, but that little knowledge, which feels very useless at this point, is going to go so far with you.
Right. Yeah. That's There are a lot of people who are introverts, and then there is no way, and they don't talk. They don't literally. They're in your class, and you don't even know that they exist. But their inner voice, it's coming out, and they want to talk about it. It's a serious thing. I think a lot of people who are social and okay to go anywhere and talk with people. Like I'm very opposite. Like I can literally go anywhere and talk. And but the only issue I had when I started in this country, my English is not that great. So this is something, as you said, can be vulnerable. Even I can be because I'm from a very different background. Even though I studied in CBSE school, but I'm from a very very small town. Nobody speaks English, and that's not how I grew up. So for me, my only barrier was if I would talk and if I speak in a wrong grammar, if I say something that and I do like a fumble, then people are gonna laugh at me. But then even then I did not stop. I did stop it few times in my life, and there are a lot of people like me. A lot. And this is the
No,
message I think we're gonna push through this. As you said, you're introvert, doesn't matter, just do it. You don't know English, you're good at your Hindi, Punjabi, or any other language you're good at. Just go for it. There are so many good people outside that they're always going to welcome you and help you to make you feel comfortable. Do you agree with me on that?
absolutely do. I've never, so I know a few people who always approach to me and they're like, you're so well spoken. And that's because, to your point, I was raised in a convent environment. So I've learned that. And then the tuitions I went, she was a Christian teacher. So she used to make us mug a word in a dictionary once a month. So that is how I've been raised. And not everybody has equal opportunities. But even as the component of this country itself, we know there is diversity. And if we are the ones who are going to push that out, it's not going to make sense. I see that we are ourselves our biggest enemies sometimes. Not inviting people of different ethnicity into our safe zones. People who are not well spoken are not well presented. That's the common myth. It's this is such an important topic. I can go on and on about this, but I wish we had the luxury.
I relate on so many things on this topic because I've always felt uncomfortable because I knew that when you remember you gave that webinar for a short food safety when we did the practice rehearsal before went for final thing. I told my partner, I'm like, he's so well spoken. The only thing I'm like, when she started talking, I'm like, okay, it's done, good. I don't want to listen anything else. I really, really, even now with the podcast, I was sure that I'm like, okay, it's Neha only. She knows how to say stuff. She will say things. So this is what I love about you. And it's not people who can't are less or more. There is nothing like that. Always we all are learning and growing at our own pace. But when there are people like you who motivate other people to learn, this is something we all need.
People like you who have shown that you come from a place of less opportunities, but are so resilient and so strong rooted that you'll create that space for yourself. So that's one thing that I am so proud of. And yeah, you're right, because we all have different strengths. That could be speaking for me, but I don't think I'm brave enough to do something of my own that you're able to do, and you're doing such a wonderful job at.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next, I want to know is what do you think about different certifications? We have HACCP, GMP, BRC, SKF. There's so many. At what point did you take certifications? At what point do you think today, with today's economy in Canada, with today like, recession is coming, people have more people, less jobs. Do you think students should focus more towards certifications before they send over their resumes?
If I was to honestly answer this, Tanya, I don't think certifications define you. I view certifications only as a pusher. So if I'm applying for a job and I have 15,000 certifications listed on my resume, I'm definitely bagging one interview. That is for sure. So if you want to come from an interview snatcher point, I would suggest getting that done. But that in no shape or form entirely defines how you're going to perform. From my own story, I was lucky to get again HACCP, Six Sigma, continuous improvement. These were upcoming, and I was in the right place at the right time where industries were starting to learn and lean on them. We were, by our companies, given the opportunity to show up for such certifications. Now, there are some certifications that I thought I should do at my own pace. Six Sigma is biggest of all. It takes a lot of time. I don't think I entirely understand all the principles either. I've kind of winged it, I'm not gonna lie. But do the core concepts make sense to me? Absolutely. Um, start if you want to bag an entry level role, start with your foundations. Understand HACCP. Just don't go into it. Biotechnology has taught us HACCP, but I was talking to one graduate the other day and I asked her, so do you know what HACCP is though? Because, and I did not mean to put her down. If not, I can take this opportunity to educate what that comes from. And she said, no, like I've done it, but I don't think I understand it. So, and that's when I sent her to you, and I think you know, you and I both know who we are talking about. And she said that when I explained her what HACCP truly means, it's hazard analysis critical control point. So you're essentially, it's all about hazards and how do you want to control them. That's pretty much it. And if you are able to write that in a document, which an auditor is convinced with, that's it. That's HACCP right there for you. Know all of these principles, how different risks are involved, and that will also come with you performing in a job. So if you're able to tie this in right before you bag a role, amazing. But not everybody will have that opportunity. So maybe equip yourself with a certification first and then try rolling into a job. Now you'll be able to put two and two together and understand how it is all tying in. Now, if you are in a level of I'm done putting my foot in, I'm already an entry level applicant, I've got a job, I've been in this role for a good month and a half. I want to look into growing myself. Now look for further certifications like understanding compliance and regulations, lead auditors. This is way early in your career, but the faster you understand regulations, the faster you'll understand the whys of what I'm doing. At this point, food safety is just going to sound like, keep food safe. Don't touch on the floor. Don't let it mix with something else. That is the basic of food safety. I think we all at a household level also understand. But now, when we are talking at a regulation level, introduce yourself step by step as your career grows, evolve with your certifications.
Right, I agree with you. And even after people, a lot of students take HACCP, then they next next day on a call, you're like, can we should I take SQF as well? Should I take internal auditor as well? And then I always tell them, no, you don't. Like at this point, you don't even know how you're going to implement the HACCP. What are you going to learn from it? Right now, you only know the theoretical part. You don't know the practical part of it. It only looks good when you're presenting sometime. I'm teaching you, you're learning, oh, this is easy, I can do it, this is, but when you actually implement it, it's completely different. And that's when you said it, two meets together only when you're actually working on that job, not just has up on paper, but it should be actually implemented on the floor. And when auditor or any inspector or anybody reads it, it has to make sense according to your manufacturing facility.
Even so, when I moved on from Sierra to Simmons, from a senior tech, I was given a supervisor position and I somehow qualified for that. I didn't think I was ready then, but I leaped for it. And little did I know, Tanya, I don't think I knew what regulations were. At a tech level in Sierra, all I could see is I'm filling the paper, I'm doing the metal detection, I'm checking the CCPs, the temperatures are okay, the meat is thawed. That's my knowledge to it. Without the whys of the industry. I'm doing all of this, but HACCP was third party for us. So I had no visibility on HACCP plans or anything of that. Coming into Simmons, now I'm dealing with four manufacturing lines with a vast HACCP 10 form system. Never seen this volume of manufacturing. And here I am also being on the hot seat with the auditor defending my company when BRC strikes. So the pressure was on to a max level. But then again, bringing it back to resilience and grit, if you want to do it, I've stayed up, learned Excel because I was super dumb at that. My school didn't teach me that much. Regulations as well did not make sense to me. I am supposed to defend a company without knowing the whys of what I'm doing. So then there I was on the floor asking questions. What are you doing? Why are you doing? When do you do this? The five whys, everything. And I think I bugged the shit out of people there. But then when it came time to defend my company, I think I knew what I was talking about.
Okay, that's interesting. I think my
Hmm.
next question is related to what you already said. So many young people feel intimidated in FSK roles, right? Especially when you're dealing with a senior, you're a senior colleague. So especially what I have seen you as a HACCP or as a QA, you have to work with production, maintenance, sanitation, R&D, plant manager, auditor, corporate people, sales. Sometimes you have to like all deal with so many people, not every day, but once, twice in a month, you're dealing with different people at different times, right? So, how did you build that confidence in your expertise? Like, how are you so confident that you can, whatever you're doing in your HACCP or whatever you're doing in your current role, understanding the regulations? and you can go ahead and talk with people who are not ready to listen because they are doing this from 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and they think they know more than you. But now you're new girl starting in a new company. It's been only 6 months and you're telling them what to do, how to do it. So how do you handle that?
That's a good question, Tanya. I think so. I can put it in words for now, but for the for living it every day, it only came with time. I made mistakes. I think I had a spat or two with people who misunderstood my intentions. Um, and I've always been intentional. So that has worked for me and it has not. I will have a conversation always with an intention. And that intention is either to educate, to grow myself, to grow somebody else, to minimize a risk given the job role. Um, and I've always been the person who also questions, why did you do that? Is it documented? Are we doing this? Where does this go next? So my curiosity takes sometimes the worst of me, and that comes across as I'm not trusting them enough with the role that they're performing. Now, the art would lie in constructing the questions accordingly, constructing your approach, which happens when you sit alone. Once you're home, you're revisiting the day that you've lived today, things that you could have done differently. That's a big thing that can go home with you and you can reanalyze your day. That reanalyzation is not overthinking, but it's self reflecting. Um, and the biggest takeaway for me was the tone. Tone is such an underrated but so high visible enemy. Um, if I were to approach to you and simply say, okay, I saw you do this, why are you doing this? Versus, this is a great approach, I've never seen that before. Can you walk me through what you're doing? Maybe I'll learn a thing or two. The difference in the two, the ask was the same, but the way I approached it was day and night. Uh, that and then obviously being so awkward. So I have people that I've worked with in Simmons as well, such long tenures with the people that are working. 30 years, 40 years in the same company, they've devoted their entire life to a company. So if I walk them blindfolded in that company, they're gonna walk me through it like experts. Going in telling them that I don't think you've documented this correctly. I see that there's a gap. It's very intimidating, but the right tone fixes it. And like I said, know the whys of your ask. Paint them a picture of the repercussions if we don't do it the right way, and not in a form of threat, but in a form of you coming from a place of, I want to save you this trouble. We can all walk out of this no harm, no foul. That approach, tone, and knowing the whys, if you're grounded in your information, nobody's gonna. And then sometimes, if you have to be firm and raise your voice and talk in a certain fashion, at least you're talking sense and facts versus just blatantly. Exactly, versus me blatantly just saying, I said you have to do that, that's why you have to do that. It doesn't make sense.
Interesting. Tone is something I've never thought of it. Maybe I did, but I didn't know how to explain it. I
Mhm.
really liked it the way you said it. That tone matters a lot. The approach matters a lot. If someone is not feeling comfortable and feeling threatened by what you are saying, they're not going to listen to you. And it's same. This is how it goes when two siblings fight. You have a chat with your parents. Sometimes you both are not on same page, even with your partner. If you're someone who is they are not comfortable with the way you are talking, the way you want to give them your message, they are not going to listen to you. They will only listen if they feel like comfortable with your tone. I've personally seen it and I've learned it in a hard way because when I started my career, we get a lot of push from the management. Like, you have to tell them, you have to tell them. We're going up and telling your manager or director, they're not listening to me. They will, no, you have to tell them how they can't listen. But you don't take that heat and go on the floor. You have to think, okay, I got the heat, but I have to make sure when I go on the floor, I have to talk with these people. So I have a polite and nice tone and a different approach rather than, and you have to read people, you have to understand because every person is different. They are not same, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, what is the one thing working in food safety that you learned throughout your career, but wish that you would have known when you started your career?
First of all, I didn't know I'm gonna work for food safety. See, food safety is not just knowing your rules, but having endless amount of stamina to defend that. If I'm making a decision, let's say you're not going to mix red tongue with a yellow tongue. If I'm making that decision in that minute, being able to defend them technically, regulation wise, is the hardest part of the job. Now, like I said, I'll have to paint them a picture of the real world impact. Like, if you don't do this, this is what is going to go wrong, right? I didn't know how to deliver that message. So, that is one part I struggled with. I knew what I'm doing, not entirely, but I knew what I'm doing. I could wing it, I could understand it. But delivering that message to somebody else, not everybody views food safety the same way. For you, if you are a meat consumer, it would not matter to you if I touched a tongue that you don't like green peppers and I touched a green pepper tongue for your chicken. But for me, it matters so much. Just the other day, I think I was talking to my mom, and I actually yesterday I was talking to my aunt, and she said something around the lines, "That's okay. This is from outside. We just got it. Keep it out. I'll reheat over and over in a batch." I said, "No. If you're gonna do that, you're reducing the shelf life." And that is exactly how I spoke to an aunt who has never lived a day in food safety. It becomes a part of you. So things that I didn't know getting into this is how much I'll have to breathe that food safety concept in my nerve, be so true to it, not just from a, a manufacturer point of view, but be in the consumer's shoe and be true to the consumer, because I don't know if you're going to bring that vegetarian pizza to my seat if it has been on a grill that has served meat also, but I'm trusting you with that. And that trust is a big thing, right? So that, as well as being able to articulate the whys of the world, of the food safety world, those two things I think were something that I was not prepared for. But I'm still figuring it out as I go.
And I think nobody can prepare us for that anyways, because schools, colleges, they don't teach you that, because they all, who are people who are teaching there, who have never worked in food industry themselves. They are professors. So they are not, they can't teach us that because they have never worked themselves in the food industry. Maybe few people did and they quit their jobs and they went for teaching. So maybe those people can share their experiences, but other than that, no only people who can tell that are who are working in the industry day to day. And that only happens when you are working in the industry. So I think there is always going to be something that we
It's
miss.
a question from a lot of food grads as well, and I think it's such an eye opener when we talk about these transferable skills or these assets of communication. Everybody is tunnel visioned the job hunt in such a way that I need to land the job, I'll do anything to make it work. That is it. But that anything to make it work comes with so much of baggage of its own you're not prepared for.
Right. What do you think about automation, AI in food safety? I recently, someone reached out to me. The company is based in Kelowna here, and they said we are trying a software for food businesses and consultants and everyone, where AI would write your SOP for you. So you will just put, and according to regulation. So they gave me this trial membership. They asked me to test that software from my day to day and see and help them building that software and see where the software is lacking behind, so that they can sell that software to food businesses and even to consultants to help them. Okay, you don't need third people to build your program. You can use AI and all of that. So, with food safety evolving, the regulations are changing, so many recalls and everything. What do you think about all of these things? Do you think this would take our job? Do you think it's good that we have something like that we can rely on? Or you think no, it cannot replace humans?
I'm a strong believer of that human perfection is irreplaceable. So absolutely, I wouldn't be threatened if I was you. You're a master of what you do. So that's one. Um, yes, AI is coming into the picture, but I also like to look at AI from a different standpoint. It is going to make SOPs for you, absolutely. It is going to make programs for you, but is the implementation piece happening? Now, that is up to you and me as humans. So, although it will be a very ground level job, but it's still needed. It's not that food safety is completely out of the picture. Now, not everybody in the industry may be able to afford that. I am not sure. I have never dived into the logistics of how costly or how cost effectful these are. But at the end, they all have their limitations, I think. So I'll take an example. With my previous company, they had a metal detector which now is able to gauge its own sensitivity. Once you learn the product, it will pick up different types of products. So maybe let's say you have 17 samples that you've ran through the metal detector, and now it's connecting its own sensitivity, its own standards that I would reject it at that point. This is high metal, this is low metal. But when it comes to presenting that data and understanding the data, it's not going to be able to do that for me. Understanding the pattern of that finding is up to me as a human. I would still need an Excel, I would still need my eyes to go through it to better the performance. So I don't think it's entirely there yet, and I feel using this is just a very basic form of AI. Sometimes using ChatGPT myself, I have to proofread what it is doing because not all the information is accurate on that. Despite of being so good at writing a prompt that is very specific and I want my answers that strategic, it's not able to deliver in the same fashion, and now it's mixing up the information. So it's still work in progress, and I think there's a long way to go, and I think we might have mastered food safety by then. So that's my take on AI. I'm not threatened yet, but
I did feel, honestly, I'm like, okay, so they said they're already working, people are already adapting in medical field, and people who sell supplements and all of that, natural health products, those companies have already started implementing, and now we want to target food and beverage. But I didn't like it personally that much because it was just showing random information from anywhere, picking it from FDA, EU regulations when we are only talking about SFCR and all of that stuff. And also, one thing you mentioned, I really liked it actually, implementation. AI cannot go on the floor and implement it, train people, talk with them on day to day, every single minute, which only you and me can do it, right? So that is something I don't think even in future AI can do it, can watch you every single second on the floor. And
it's not the human presence, it's not building a culture for your company. So at the end, I mean, it's a great added tool, but not a reliant entirely.
right, yeah, makes sense. So, last question. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to build a strong career in food safety compliance, what would it be?
The list is long, Tanya, with the learnings I've had. Um,
You can say
this
more.
one,
You're
this is,
allowed.
thank you. The one that has hit home recently is I've been mindful, intentional of building a career that I'm really proud of, not the one that I'm afraid of being snatched away from me. That comes with, again, being grounded in the concepts. You want to play it safe, but the real growth happens when you're challenging yourself. Now, if I had not packed up my bag in a day, moved from North York to Brampton, I don't think I would be sitting here having this conversation with you. That was my first step of going uncomfortable. Now, did I have friends who lived in North York? Did I have friends who lived in Scarborough that I could reach out whenever I wanted? And now that is going to go away because Brampton was a bigger shift for me. Giving that comfort up, giving that little luxury of I don't feel like doing it. I don't think I'm quite there yet. If I did not move into Simmons, still being underprepared for being a supervisor who's going to manage people, I didn't think that would happen. But challenge yourself. You're going to get push whenever you're challenging yourself, but make sure you learn the art of converting those pushes into partnerships. Take people into your favor, and that will only happen if you have clear intentions. And having clean intentions is a game changer. That is also a little bit on a spiritual standpoint also of being true to yourself, but that is an innate trait. So the biggest advice is be secure. Don't let anybody tell you that you cannot, and when they do, show them the right way to do it. Don't let them tell you that you cannot. Be very secure, be proud of your career, and never ever fear somebody else taking it away from you. That'd be it.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
how should I respond to that? But what you said, it's beautiful, and I completely align with that, with you on that. And I think, yeah, that's it. Do you want to add anything at the end?
This is great. I don't think I've had such insightful questions in a long time. And I said that to you even before. Really candid. No, I don't think this was possible without the flow that you are maintaining too. Um, and I have so much to learn. I'm always gonna tap in with you whenever I feel stuck, which I've always done. So I'm happy I can lean on you.
Now, me too. I'm still very new to the industry, still learning, still connecting with a lot of people who I learn. And I think for me, it doesn't matter what role you are at. For me, it is like, okay, it's a good human doing something great for themselves, and I can connect with that person.
Mhm.
That's the only thing that matters to me. If you're someone like who don't want to do anything, just make excuses, that's the type of vibe I just don't like to connect. Very straightforward. I like to talk with people who are actually doing something for themselves.
Right? It's who you
And we
surround
have
yourself.
moved here. That's why we moved here. We left our homes, we left our parents, right? We left everything we had. Now we have moved here just to do something for ourselves. That's what we told our parents at least, right? So we have to justify, not for them, because they're our parents, they're going to accept us no matter the way we are. You have to live with yourself at the end, right? So do it for you.
Thanks, Tanya. Wow, that was very well said. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you once again for listening to the Safe Table podcast. I hope you've enjoyed insightful conversation with Neha Mehta. If you like this episode, do leave us a comment, like, share, and subscribe our channel if you haven't yet. Until then, bon appetit!